Hey there. My name's Gary Parrish. I'm a columnist and a television analyst for CBS Sports and the host of the Gary Parrish Show on Grind City Media here in Memphis. First, let me apologize for not being able to speak to you in person today, but I hope my words, even my recorded words about Regional One Health, might resonate with you because Regional One has played an incredible role in my family's lives. Let me tell you a story. Back in 2016, my wife and I were expecting our third child. The pregnancy had gone great. There were no issues, but just a couple of months before the due date, my wife wasn't feeling normal. She went in for an ultrasound, nervous but optimistic. And what she learned pretty quickly is that there was no heartbeat. We were told there was a problem with the baby's umbilical cord. It's a rare thing, but a very real thing. So my wife called me, needless to say, hysterically crying to let me know what had happened. I was in New York for work, so I booked a flight as quickly as I could, flew home that night, and we delivered that baby, a stillborn baby, the next morning. It was just as awful as you can probably imagine. We named him Elliot, and we went straight from the hospital to the funeral home. It's a Thursday afternoon. I still remember it all these years later. Anyway, that delivery was so complicated for my wife that she ended up with a tear in her uterus. And she had surgery planned for later that year to repair it. But before it was repaired, we got pregnant again. So we were pregnant just a few months after delivering a stillborn, and while my wife still had this tear in her uterus. Obviously, this was not ideal. We met with various doctors, none of whom were initially encouraged. We were advised that terminating the pregnancy was probably the most sensible option because literally nobody could cite an example of a woman successfully delivering a baby under these circumstances. More likely than not, everybody told us, as the baby grew, the tear would widen and eventually the baby would die. So everybody told us terminating the pregnancy was the most sensible option. And we considered it. We absolutely considered it. My wife and I at least talked about it. But then we met with a high-risk pregnancy doctor named Dr. Jacques Sampson. And he told us two things. He said, one, that if we believed in him, he believed he could deliver this baby successfully. And two, he said if we were truly open to suggestions, he'd advise us to let him deliver our baby at Regional One Health. And that was interesting to hear because our other children were born elsewhere, specifically out east. And all I knew at the time about Regional One was that it was the place to go with a gunshot wound or after a bad car wreck. Like, all I knew was what I'd seen over the years on local news following one tragedy after another. But Dr. Sampson, he was convincing. Regional One, he said, was best equipped to handle our situation, and it's where he told us he would want this baby delivered if it were his own baby. Simply put, that was good enough for us. So in November of 2016, after, predictably, the tear in my wife's uterus was starting to do exactly what everybody told us it would eventually do, we rushed to Regional One on the orders of Dr. Sampson to have our baby delivered 8 weeks early. Was it nerve-wracking? Yes. Scary? Absolutely. But Dr. Sampson, surrounded by 16 other doctors and nurses, did what he told us he believed he could do, which is successfully deliver our baby at Regional One Health. He was little, he was fragile, but he was alive. We named him Louis Daniel Parrish, and he spent the first 2 weeks of his life at the NICU inside Regional One. My wife and I were there every day, and what we realized in that time is that that place is filled with amazing people, but it is also incredibly underfunded, just a forgotten gem in our city. You know, as you know, we raise money for some incredible hospitals in this area, St. Jude, Le Bonheur, and those places deserve every penny they get. They're saving lives too. But Shelby County residents have never celebrated Regional One similarly, and that's disappointing. So the funding just isn't there. which is why Dr. Reginald Coopwood, the CEO of Regional One Health, has said recently that his staff is, quote, providing great care within old bones. The reason I'm telling you this story is because you have an opportunity to change this with your vote. You have an opportunity to bring Regional One into the 21st century, to upgrade Regional One in general, and specifically the NICU, where my baby boy was born and spent, again, the first 2 weeks of his life. To be clear, I'm not asking you to do it for me or for Lou, who, by the way, is now 6 years old. The good is he just made his 6-year-old all-star team in baseball. The bad, he also just spray painted the side of our house. It's all happened in a matter of 48 hours. So is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. But he's alive and he's healthy and he's our sweetest cuddler and the undeniable byproduct of Regional One Health. He's a living, breathing example of the amazing people who work there and the amazing work that they do. So again, I'm not asking you to approve this budget for me and my family. But what I am asking you to do is approve this budget for the people of Shelby County, many of whom are less fortunate than me and my family and will need Regional One in the future out of necessity, not out of choice. Your vote won't just change that hospital. It can change our county, our home, and it can give the miracle workers who work downtown an opportunity to work their miracles in facilities worthy of their brilliance. So please do the right thing. I'm respectfully asking you to approve this budget and give the folks at Regional One Health what they need to do their jobs well. Regional One quite literally changed my family for the better, despite the spray-painted side of my house currently suggesting otherwise. Now you have the power to change Regional One for the better. And I thank you in advance for what I hope you're about to do.